Anime in 2024 was pretty good. A lot of great shows that didn't really become staple names in the community, but I think truly one of the best animes to ever exist aired this year. Hell, I now have a new 10 out of 10 anime in my list. First of all, my parameters. I'm only talking about works that start in 2024 and end in 2024, so no sequels, no OVAs. Now before I get to my list, I do have some honorable mentions that I have to bring out here that really didn't fit those parameters. First of all, Frieren. Frieren falls in this awkward spot because it aired initially in 2023 but finished in 2024, thus making it not qualify for the list, but I have to say Frieren is pretty cool. I brought it up in my last anime of the year video, so I won't go into further detail. But for this year, taking the awkward spot of great anime that aired in 2024 but will finish later on this year in 2025 is Chi, or Orb if you can't remember a single Japanese vowel. Chi has been a thrilling masterpiece. The show is a story of a bunch of people trying to figure out the truth of heliocentrism. The church, the main enemies of heliocentrism, don't fuck with this for some reason. The show is about the pursuit of truth and how that pursuit means something different for each person. It can mean beauty, it can mean freedom, or just simply knowing something that no one else in the world knows. It is a show that does that puff puff pass way of storytelling, where you really shouldn't be close to any of the characters. The only one that I can remember doing this puff puff pass storytelling is To Your Eternity. But Orb is way more brutal than To Your Eternity. There's plenty of death and a ton more torture scenes. If you get a kick of women, innocent people, or people you just simply fuck with getting their fingers pierced, losing their eyesight, I can't recommend you Chi more. I just wouldn't recommend you watching this anime while eating food, that's all. Now putting Orb to the side, onto the actual list. For pure memory alone, I have to put my dear friend Nokotan, or Shikanoko Koshtan-tan, into this list. I mean, even before episode 1 even aired, there were memes of Koshitan bully Maguiring up. To try to explain the plot of Shikanoko Koshtan-tan to people would be nonsensical, because that's not the point of this anime. The point of this anime is to make you laugh. Koshtan being the straight man, just the memes of Bashame eating rice, random nonsense that is the existence of Nokotan, and Anko being the incest Yuri that she is. The show is definitely defined by its moments, like aforementioned Bully Maguire scene, or Koshtan trying to hit the gritty, or the show just faking an ending arc just for the sake of it. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and claim that every single Shikanoko joke hit, nor am I going to claim that this show was the funniest anime of all time. But the show gets into this list from just as a way of showing gratitude. Gratitude to the Shikanoko memes that came out this year, and there were some really, really great memes out there. Even though the anime itself might get a 7 out of 10 in my anime list, because it's just pure brain rot and it's catered for children and people with ADD. It's in this list because I'm also a retard. Dandadan is a fun anime. It's an anime about aliens, ghosts, balls, and flying cows. A show about Momo and Okarun who got superpowers and now is doing this Scooby-Doo thing and trying to solve everyone's ghostly problems for the purpose of getting Okarun's Primogems back. It is an anime that doesn't take itself too seriously. You don't need to turn on your brain to watch Dandadan. With toilet humor up the wazoo and so many sexual references with mild edgy here and there that I fuck with, it's a really, really great, simple-minded show. But the show can get emotional at times, most notably that one scene with Acrobatic Silky that got the whole community crying. The show has a romance B-plot between Momo and Okarun that I am shockingly very interested in. The introduction of Gigi, I think, is perfect. I actually really, really like Gigi. I think it will motivate Okarun to try to move the romance forward. Dandadan is also very well animated. Obviously, the action scenes speak for themselves, right? But the timing of the comedic scenes are impeccable, and the funny faces and the eccentric movements that the anime has does wonders for the characters, especially Gigi. And every time Turbo Granny in her cat form is in the screen, whether it's pitching or just being a little guy, is really funny. The ending of the season sort of pisses me off. I mean, I get that season 2 is already confirmed, but come on, ending the season in the middle of an arc, in the middle of a battle, that's just messed up and ruins the concept of the whole list, so it can't be anime of the year. Makeine is a different type of romance anime. The concept of having a bunch of girls who are losers, having them hang around with little to no romance in between them, is actually boss. In a way, it's a harem anime, and a harem anime is defined by its parts. And they are very quality parts. Chika, the awkward BL-loving girl. Lemon, the tangirl, who is by far the hottest in the group. I know they're high schoolers, I don't care. Yanami, the main heroine who is full of herself and is just fat. All the girls have really good voice acting that take their characters from great to the best waifus of this generation. The show is mainly a comedy, and the girls are front and center of the reason for the jokes. Nukumizu being the straight man while these girls show their quirky sides that they don't really show to the people they actually have a crush on is really nice. The season goes through arcs of each girl's getting rejected and beginning the first step of moving on. For people that like romance, the climax of most romance animes is usually the confession and the rejection that usually comes along with it. We get to skip all the fat and just get to the rejection and multiply it times 3. It's also nice to finally see a show that tackles what happens after a big confession, how the girls would need to move on, how the girls would cope, and each arc is really well done and animated really well, with each arc having their own special ending. I like Makeine a lot, but I don't think it's the best anime of this year. Dungeon Meshi is the perfect anime to watch while you eat. The plot of the show is about a group who recently lost one of their members and a battle with this red dragon. They want to retrieve Fallen's body so that they can reincarnate her. The group is Laios, Marcel, Chilchuck, Senchi, and later on, Izuzumi. Each character has a unique personality that have great chemistry with each other. Their bond is really admirable and is warm to the touch. At first you might assume that this is your run-of-the-mill food anime, with ingredients made in the dungeon which is surprisingly well thought of and look really good. But the longer you watch this anime, you realize that the show has some really amazing world building. A world that is very well thought out from top to bottom. No monster or place feel unoriginal. Sure, these are monsters that you've probably seen if you watched an isekai before or played a RPG before, but there's a little twist to them to make them unique. The show, in my opinion, is the best animated show this year. You got the great action, you got really good facial expressions that each of the characters have in their bits, and really good storyboarding. Not to mention the pacing of the jokes. Look, I'm no animation expert, but there's an armadillo out there on YouTube that broke down every single episode of Dungeon Meshi's animation, and I agree with everything that dude said. The plot and general theme of the show also gradually changes. It starts off relatively chill, just, a bunch of people eating up the dungeon and its inhabitants. But when the show slowly gets into the thick of it, when they finally meet Fallen, when they actually get into the story of the dungeon itself, it actually becomes a very interesting plot. As much as I like Dungeon Meshi, or any of the animes I brought up this video, there is one anime that stood out a little more. An anime that is relatively unpopular. Maybe it's because how it aired in the middle of a season, but nonetheless, I think Dead Demons, Dead Destruction, is the best anime of 2024. There's few animes that is more real than Dead. The show takes place in the world on the edge of Armageddon. A spaceship is on top of Tokyo, scaring the Jesus out of everyone, and people are killing aliens to fend out frustration because of their limp dicks. Instead of following some shonen protagonist that will save the world, we instead follow these two girls. Two girls that are trying to just live a normal life despite it all. Grow up, go to college, experience some romance, and not care at all for the dire world situation they are in. Antan and Kadobe are the best duo in all of media. Two girls who are always there for each other, who understand each other despite everything. The two people that even if you go to any other dimension, they will still have each other's backs because they are simply absolute. The animation is good and features funny faces. Now, people complain about these funny faces and weird character design, and I get it. It's a little hard to take serious the death of the world when one of the ministers look like an ass. But I like the funny faces, and I fuck with them heavy. The show, I think, is special because of how it balances themes that it wants to play. The theme of sci-fi thriller, you know, the aliens invading and getting shot down, the politicians trying to haul ass out of the world, and of a slice of life comedy anime. Kadobe trying to get into it with his teacher, later on Tan's romance with this one idol dude. Both sides are seemingly oblivious of each other until one side becomes so undeniable that it takes the other side on this masterpiece of a climax. To make you laugh and cry or be in absolute shock is, I think, makes it fit to make Dead Dead Demons Dead Dead Destruction the anime of the year.